Welcome to the Scale with Pros podcast with your host, myself, Cody Barton, the number one place to be if you want to build a business beyond yourself. And for all the resources we talk about in the show, make sure to head over to scalewithpros.com. We are going to be talking about the exact planning process that I utilize on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and that I have for the last 8 years in a row. And I know it sounds crazy, but I found this when I was about 22 years old. I'm 30 now, and I utilized this specific planning process to consistently be growing on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and at the same time be able to, as a business owner, reduce the amount of chaos that I felt every day and the all of the overwhelm that I would feel, and got myself to a place where I was able to focus, make more clear and intentional decisions. So we are going to be diving in. For those that are watching, you may be watching this on YouTube or Spotify, iTunes. What you can do is go over to scalewithpros.com and you can click on the resource tab and actually download the resource that I'm talking about, which is called the Smart Day, Smart Week Framework. And so this is going to be a fast episode. We're going to just hit right into, what is it, how do you use it, and why you should essentially implement this. I ended up implementing this from, learning this from a mentor about 8 years ago. And one of the things that I was taught was the high quality questions we ask ourselves and the more space that we create for ourselves to think as business owners, the higher quality answers we will get, which influence the decisions that we make in our business and the intent that we're able to consistently work towards. Whereas most business owners, they're running from the seat of their chair and they're just, firefighting all day, every day. And I'm not going to say that that's not something you're going to ever, fully get away from. Like, you do have to solve problems on, a basis here and there once you've implemented this, but you shouldn't be living that way forever. Otherwise, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong as a business owner. When we're talking about the Smart Day, Smart Week framework, you can have this pulled up. I'm going to be reading off this, so if you're driving in your car, obviously this is an episode you want to save and come back to later and pull this resource and implement. Because why are you listening to this if you are not going to implement? So let's go through it. So there's two parts to this, the Smart Day and the Smart Week process. And when we're talking about Smart Day, this is going to be something you put in the calendar for about 10-15 minutes every day. It's going to be essentially a quick review where you're going to be focusing on, not starting your day until you finish your day. And so for me, I usually do this in the mornings where I'll plan out and do my review in the morning for that upcoming day. And so here's what this process looks like. Step one is doing your victories and attitude of gratitude. And so this is really just taking inventory of wins or positive things that happened the previous day before. The reason we do that is we want to focus our mind on a positive state because we know that there's enough things that we can complain about and that aren't going well in business because that's just business. We want to focus on being in this positive frame of mind as we go through the next part of the exercise because it's going to help the quality of questions that we ask ourselves and answer in the next steps. So step two is we are going to do your KPI or target review, which essentially just looking at the most important numbers for your business from the day before. So those most important numbers, let's say maybe you're a sales rep, and this is going to be different for every person listening, but what are the most important key performance indicators for your role, and what were they the day before? If you're a sales rep, a couple of those things might be total calls that you made yesterday. Another number might be total contacts that you had with prospects over the phone. If you make offers or estimates or some type of service charge that you're going to charge the customer, how many of the people that you talked to yesterday did you pitch for the estimate, for the offer, or whatever the metric is that's being tracked. And then the final metric on sales, maybe cash collected. How much cash did you actually collect from those calls that you had? And so that's just an example, but whatever your specific role is, you want to be looking at those on a day-to-day basis. And you aren't doing anything with that yet. You're just getting the data, you're inputting the data as you're reviewing this. And so the next step is understanding that as you're looking at your day, there's lots of things that you could be doing and there's lots of things that you should be doing, but we are focusing on planning our day for the most critical, mission critical tasks that need to be done that given day. And so when we're establishing our day, in your Smart Week process, as you get into this, you'll be doing this, but when you're first starting and you're just doing a Smart Day review, you're going to be putting everything on your calendar for that day that you need to get done. Because if it doesn't make it on your calendar, the odds of you doing it is not super high. So at that morning time, you're planning for the day, putting on your calendar, if you have 3 to 5 major action items that you need to get done, put on the calendar when you're going to put focused time or attention on each of those items, so it gets in the calendar. If you have personal things, you're going to the gym, or you're going to do cardio, or you're going on a date night, or you're hanging out with your kids, put it in the calendar for that day so you're intentional about what you're going to do in the day. Just doing this simple exercise on a daily basis will help you understand what your results were for the previous day so you could plan better for the upcoming day. It's going to help you prioritize what are the most important things that need to get done, because every one of us could have a 100-item to-do list, but there's really the most important things we need to do every day that are going to move us forward the fastest. And so that is what that part of the process looks like. So that is what Smart Day looks like, where you're doing this 10-15 minute quick review. You're going through this. What I recommend to make it super easy is choose 2 places to do this in. Either if you're you like to write things down, do this with a journal and do this every day in your journal. If you're someone that likes to be on your computer, what I would recommend, make it super easy. Open up a Google Drive folder, call it your 2024, 2025, whatever time you're listening to this, Smart Day, Smart Week. And every day, just starting, at the top of your, of that Google Sheet to the day's date, and then going through the exercise, and then going back and forth between that and your calendar to plan out the day. And then when you go into your Smart Week, you'll also do the more deeper version on that same Google Sheet. So let's dive into the Smart Week part of this process. When we're looking at Smart Week, this is going to typically be a longer review process. So it's really just an extension of what you do on your daily, where you're spending maybe 10 or 15 minutes a day doing this. Then you're going to spend on the Smart Week side of this 30 minutes to 40 minutes, depending. Usually around that amount of time is sufficient. I like to do this on Sundays. It's when I find it's the best time for me to have this clear think time available. Other people like to do it Mondays, but it doesn't matter when you do it. It's just that you do it and you put it in your calendar to schedule it, and you actually are doing it every week. How does the Smart Week process start? Well, how it begins is the same way the Smart Day began, which is starting with our victories and our attitude of gratitude. What went well last week in the business? What are some positive things that happened? What are some wins that you can celebrate? Even if it was a bad week, you can always dig into what were some of the wins that you had to, again, get yourself in a positive frame of mind as you start the exercise. The next thing, surprise, surprise, consistency is here. You're looking at your KPIs again, but now not for the previous day, but the previous week. Okay, over that previous week, in this example of the sales, how many total sales calls were made, how many contacts were made, how many pitches or offers or estimates were sent to a potential customer, and what was the total cash collected. Again, I'm just giving an example. If you're a business owner, you're probably looking at multiple areas of data when you're doing your Smart Week review, just giving a couple examples here. Now, where things start to differentiate is we're spending more strategic thinking time in our Smart Week exercise. And so where that goes is we're also going to be on a weekly basis reviewing for our 90-day goals. So every quarter of the year, you should be having goals that are set for that quarter. So for me, when I'm looking at, on my Smart Week review, I'm looking at what are the quarterly goals that I have for me, whether it's personal or professional. And then I'm reviewing, based on what my goal is and where I'm at right now, where am I at and am I on track? If I'm not on track, what are some things that I need to do? And so these are questions you're going to be asking yourself as you go through this. Questions like, and I'll just read a few of these right off of our tracker, which again, you could download this as your reference sheet on scalewithpros.com/resources, I believe, or you could just go to scalewithpros.com and click the resource tab. But questions like, based on where I am now and where I want to be at the end of this quarter, what must happen to stay on track for these goals? What must be true for me to reach my successful outcome at the end of this quarter? And so you're using these to help uncover the things that maybe you need to change in the daily or weekly activities that you're doing to get yourself more on track with where you're wanting to go. As you're going through all of these things, another great question to ask yourself for that previous week is, if you had to rate your last week on a scale of 1 to 10 for your business, what would you rate it? If you think about, okay, well, a 10 would have meant I hit my sales goal, I hit my, my clients are all happy, or my, whoever your customers are happy, and I made progress in my business, it's a 10. Great. If it's not a 10, the question you ask yourself is, if my last week wasn't a 10 out of 10, what must be true for this upcoming week to get me to a 10 out of 10? What are actions that I need to take this week to get me there? What are the things that I didn't do last week that need to happen this upcoming week to make sure that they happen? Other questions that you could ask yourself, what am I procrastinating on that needs to get done but hasn't? Is this something that just needs to be delegated, or do I need to just block in the time in my calendar and just get it done? These are just some reflection questions you can utilize as you're going through this on a weekly basis. And the intent of this, again, is you want to walk out of your Smart Week exercise with your calendar organized for the week. So if you look at the calendar for the week and you've finished your Smart Week, where you've planned out, okay, what are the main 3 to 5 objectives that I want to accomplish this upcoming week? Then go and plan your week. Finish your week before you start it. Monday through Sunday, that upcoming week, what days are you going to the gym? Put it on the calendar. When are you doing cardio? Put it on the calendar. When are you hanging out with kids or your significant other? Put it on the calendar. Any other extracurricular activities you have, put those on the calendar. So you put your personal life on the calendar. Then from there, start mapping out and blocking out the times that you're going to execute on the action items that you've uncovered that need to be true this upcoming week to make the week a 10 out of 10. And so just the simple exercise of planning ahead like this and having this think time will move you significantly further ahead than most other business owners, because most people, they just don't take any time to do this. They're just reacting, putting out fires of the day, and they're not in control of their day. And so if you want to take more control of the day that you are moving forward in every single day of your life, implement the Smart Day exercise, and then to take control of your week, do the Smart Week exercise, and you'll then notice that every week you can win the week, you could win the day, and when you consistently win the day, win the week, you'll start to win the month, and you start to win multiple months, and eventually you win the year. And this is how you create consistency over long periods of time, is these simple little habits. And notice when we were even talking about action items, we weren't talking about making a to-do list of 100 things. It's what are the biggest things that are going to move you forward. So your homework from this podcast episode is going to be going to our scalewithpros.com website, getting the Smart Day, Smart Week exercise, getting out your notebook, or getting your computer fired up, opening up a Google Sheet, putting today's date that you're doing the exercise for, or the week's week of whatever the week is when you're doing the exercise, and just get started. And you'll get better at it and better at it as you do it consistently, but it's about the consistency. Notice when I started at the beginning of this video, I've been doing this for 8 years. This isn't something that I've just done a couple times. And I also want to say, as a fellow human being, there are days or weeks where I've missed this. And it's when I've missed it that I have to get back on track. It's like if you're on a diet. Sometimes you fall off your diet, but you just need to get back on track as quickly as possible. Don't beat yourself up. It's just getting back on track and then continuing to move forward. So with that being said, would love to hear from you guys as well. If you follow me on Instagram, Cody Barton Official, or on any socials, feel free to send me a DM or reach out to me. Let me know. Are you enjoying some of these more snippet, actionable, podcast episodes? I'm going to be breaking up a little bit where, I'll be bringing on guests that are doing exactly what you want to do in your business, which is scale, turn their business into a, multi-7-figure, high-profit, self-managing company. But I also am wanting to bring some tactical podcast episodes just like this one. So if you give me feedback that you like this, we'll continue doing these, as well as mixing in the podcast guests. Or if you're like, Cody, these things suck, just keep bringing the guests. We will keep doing that as well. So with that being said, have an amazing rest of your day. Do not be the person that just listens and absorbs the information but doesn't take action. Get out there and be an action taker. Peace.